Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So Joshua Buatsi makes his debut on Boxer on Sky Sports by defeating unbeaten Polish fighter Pawel Stepien by a 10-round unanimous decision. Now, obviously recently Buatsi left Matchroom, left the zone, signed with Sky, and he didn't have too kind things to say about the zone and their lack of reach in the UK. That was his reasoning for signing with Sky Sports, to reach a broader audience, essentially. Well, I have to say, after that performance, I don't think anybody's going to be marking it in their calendar when Joshua Buatsi fights next. Very mediocre fight, mediocre performance by Joshua Buatsi. Clearly won the fight, don't get me wrong, but this fight to me just looked like a sparring session. One of those fights that both guys were just going through the motions. Pawel Stepien was a tricky guy, moved well, had a good guard, had decent footwork, decent defensively, but offensively there was nothing there from Pawel Stepien. A bit of a slapper, couldn't really throw hooks or crooked arm punches. Had a half decent jab, a flick jab. He was trying to counter Buatsi with his right hand, and he was catching Buatsi throughout this fight, but nothing of any consequence, no power on these shots. Buatsi was able to take them with no real consequence, he never felt any of those shots, and Buatsi was just going through the motions, really. Showed a good jab at times, varying the jab from body to head. Best shot for Buatsi in this fight was the looping right hand to the body. It was like a curved right hand that would get around the guard of Pawel Stepien. That was a good shot for Buatsi, and that worked for him throughout this fight. And the moments where Buatsi looked good was when he opened up with combinations to the body, but he never really built on those moments. I think he should have really ended those combinations with some shots to the head, changing things up to maybe try and force a stoppage, but Buatsi was repeating the same patterns, the same combinations, the 1-2 left hook, that right hand to the body that I mentioned. It was really the same combinations, rinse and repeat. There was no injection of pace. The thing about Buatsi is it's always... In this fight, it just looked like he was fighting in one gear, fighting within himself almost. That's what it looked like to me. Potentially that is due to the inactivity of Joshua Buatsi. And yeah, for a guy who's trying to work his way to a title shot, he's not been anywhere near as active as he should be, to be honest. The guy turned pro when? When did Joshua Buatsi turn pro? 2017? And he's only had 17 fights from then till now. Not enough fights in my opinion. The last few years he's been far too inactive, and I really think that showed through in his performance. I think Buatsi has some talent. When he opens up, he can throw nice combinations. He does have good punch technique. He's got a good jab. I would say he's got respectable power. And when he goes through the gears, he is fun to watch, but he's not been going through the gears enough recently for my liking. He does have defensive flaws as well. We saw that in this fight. He was getting caught square on by Stepien with his right hand. And that's a habit, again, that I've noticed throughout Buatsi's career. We saw that in the Marco Kalic fight. And I think we've seen that throughout his career, against Ricards Bolotniks, Craig Richards. He struggles to defend himself against straight punches because, Buatsi, when he's ready to throw, he does have the tendency to square himself up and his head is on centre line. So the straight shots are there for his opponents, but nobody's really made him pay yet. But yeah, to me, Buatsi, the same flaws are there that I saw 3 or 4 years ago. To me, it doesn't look like he is developing as a fighter. And again, I think a big problem is the inactivity for Buatsi. But he won this fight, it was a 10-rounder. Maybe you could give Stepien a couple of rounds, but ultimately he never did enough, and He showed good survival instincts, Stepien, showed a good guard, good defense, but not enough offensively from him. So it's on to the next one for Joshua Buatsi, and after this fight, I mean, you have to rank him below Callum Smith. In terms of UK, you have to rank him below Callum Smith at light heavyweight. You would rank him below Anthony Yarde at light heavyweight. I think the ideal fight for Buatsi next would be Dan Aziz, who is, the British light heavyweight champion, European light heavyweight champion. I think Dan Aziz would be the ideal opponent for Joshua Buatsi, because Dan Aziz is going there to win. He's going there to throw leather, and he'll try and test Buatsi. And Buatsi needs those sort of fights. He needs those sort of fights, and he needs to be active. But right now, I see Buatsi as a fighter who is not making good of his early potential. And ultimately, I see a fighter who needs to make a lot of improvements before he gets to world level. Of course, before he left Matchroom, or when he left Matchroom, Eddie Hearn was saying that he offered him the Dimitri Bivol fight. Well, considering how Buatsi looked in this fight, especially with the movements of Stepien, I mean, Buatsi would get taken apart by Bivol. He would get completely outboxed, outfoxed, and outpointed, So yeah, Buatsi needs to go back to the drawing board, improve on his skills, tighten up defensively, and also be more effective at applying pressure, fighting on that front foot, cutting off a ring, etc., closing the distance. Learn to mix up his combinations, not only in regards to the variety of punches, but also in regards to the speed of these shots, and also differentiate the power on these punches within the combination. Lomachenko's a guy who does that very well. He could throw a 5-punch combination, but 3 of those shots are softish, whereas 2 are really hard. It keeps the opponents guessing when a hard shot is coming. There's no subtleties like that to Buatsi's game, and that's what he needs to implement. I think the basics are there with Buatsi. He does have a good jab. He does have good punch technique. He can throw combinations when he wants to. And he's got decent power, but he needs to add a lot to his game, in my opinion. And yeah, I think Dan Aziz would be the ideal fight for him next. Anyway, share your thoughts below. What did you make of Buatsi's performance? And where does he go from here? Share your thoughts below. Peace.